I would like to welcome everyone to our 401k education program. Currently, your 401k assets are invested in accounts which are opened and maintained by MassMutual. Today, we have with us MassMutual's Retirement Education Specialist, Cindy Castelli. She'll walk us through some helpful slides and provide comments, considerations, and suggestions regarding your 401k. In addition to MassMutual, we also need investment advisors to help select investment options, track their performance, and recommend any needed changes. One advisor, Jason Thompson, has worked with us for many years, and he was recently joined by another advisor who's with us today, Ben Burton. In addition to Cindy and Ben, we're also joined by Jane Harmon, our benefits assistant who handles many duties which involve our 401k. She's familiar with what we offer, can help with completion of forms, and can be reached in benefits at our main number, 304-363-4100. My name is Rick Robinson, the benefits manager for Victory of West Virginia, Incorporated. I work with Cindy, Ben, and Jane as part of your team. Well, let's begin. I'll turn this over to Ben, who will begin by recapping Morgan Stanley's role. Ben?
Thank you, Rick. My name is Ben Burton. As Rick has mentioned, I'm an investment advisor with Morgan Stanley. Myself and Jason Thompson are the contacts on the plan. What we provide is assistance in helping set up your allocations for your retirement account and can answer any questions that you may have with the current market or anything in the future. Our contact information should be on the slide as shown. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call and we will help you out any way we can. Thanks, Rick.
All right, and thank you, Ben. Cindy, we'll turn to you now.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Rick and Jane and Ben, for letting me be here, and for all you participants out there, or soon-to-be participants, thank you. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about saving more without making big sacrifices. We're going to discuss about how to save, but also how I'm going to help you try to find opportunities for saving and to set some actionable goals so that you can retire on your own terms. Now, before you can even think about retirement, you have to kind of figure out if you're saving enough. The rule of thumb is to save between 10 and 12% out of your balance, your paycheck, in order to retire the way to maintain your current lifestyle the way it is today, afforded to you. As you can see on the screen right now, there's an average before tax contribution here by age or by salary. So if you're not meeting those, this is the average. The actuality, like I said before, the rule of thumb is 10 to 12% out of your 401k, out of your paycheck, in order to maintain your current lifestyle in your 401k upon retirement. So let's look at some of the ideas and how to save for retirement. A lot of people were thinking that Social Security was going to cover that for you. Well, right now, as you can see on the screen, in 2012, Social Security only was about $1,200 per month, which is about $14,500 per year. Now, that's for 2012. Who knows what it's going to be? And right now, the way Social Security works, that may not even be the amount you're going to receive. It could be less. Some people tell me that they're just going to worry about retiring later because they're too young. Some people plan on winning the lottery. Well, we're still here and we're listening to this, so that means we haven't won the lottery yet, So we can't really do all those things. We need to make sure that we are going to be doing this the way we need to do it, by taking money out of your 401k plan. Just taking 3% out of your 401k plan can actually add up to an awful lot of money here. As you can see, if you make $35,000 a year, you have potential in 35 years to have about $410,000 out of into your 401k plan in order to live off of. It's a good thing to know if you make $10,000, 3% annually is 3% out of your paycheck is only about $25 per month that you need to save. Just that extra 3% can make a big difference in your life and how you're going to live during retirement. if you look at the screen here, if you look at 3% of a $35,000 salary, that's only $20 per week, which is one movie ticket, with popcorn and everything like that. Same thing on the screen. If you may save you if you stop dining out once in a while, you can save more money and have more money to save for retirement. You can also stop those impulse buying and put that money into your 401k plan. We all know what happens when we have that extra $20 in our pocket and where it goes. Why not take that extra $20 and have it go into our 401k account in order for us to retire the way we want to? So, and the rule of thumb is to get up to, as I was saying, more than, up to almost 10% out of your pay. Even an extra 3% added on to your 3% can totally add up to a lot more money than you think it can. All right. So it's pop quiz time. I'm going to go through a little quiz for you. And if you were 22 years old and you invested the daily cost of a cup of coffee, which is $1.49, into your retirement plan, how much would you have at age 67? So that means basically $1.49 for the 5 days you work every single week, how much you think it would be, and that's if you're 22 years old. Well, the answer is C, $155,000. That is a lot of money that you can be saving just by not going out and buying that extra cup of coffee and maybe using the coffee at work or making your own coffee at home, which does save you a substantial amount of money. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm not 22 years old anymore, well, if you're 35 and you invest half of the cost of buying your lunch each day, which is about $4, half of your lunch, $4 for 5 days a week, that's about $20 a week. If you took that $20 and invested it, how much would you have at age 67 if you were 35 years old? Give you enough time? The answer is C again, okay? Now, there's a lot more of these fun facts and quizzes online, actually, at massmutual.com/getretiresmart. It's the new website that you have with MassMutual now. And as you recall, we were the Hartford last year. Actually, in January, the Hartford was bought out by MassMutual. So now we have a whole new opportunity to join another a company that has actually been established longer than Hartford was, and it does well, but you also have more access to different kind of websites too. So massmutual.com is another website that you have accessible to you, and go into Get Retire Smart, and you can see a lot more tools on how to save for retirement and how to do that. Now, the website that you can go on to look at your 401k account is still thehartford.com/retirementplan/access. If you've never gone online and looked at your plan, it may be a good idea to do that. There's an awful lot of tools online, and I'll show you something in a minute. But even just going online, if you've never done it before, just to get in, it's really simple. You don't need to get a PIN or anything from anywhere else. You just go in. Your Social Security number is your access code, your username, and your password is your birth date, month, day, 4-digit year. So if you were born today, it would be 08302013. Okay? Get in there, and they're going to ask you to change that for you to make it secure. But you can go in there, and there's a paycheck analyzer and a calculator in there. So if you're not sure how much that 3% would be, you will have that. You can go in there and use that paycheck analyzer. Now, what I have on the screen right now is a picture of the front page of the website once you go in. Okay, and you have a home button, which is actually where if you press this, you're going to automatically bring you back to this page. You can get a statement online. There's a whole bunch of these main blue tabs up here. These are different sections. You can go in and look at your investments and your contributions. You can look at your account activity, research your investments, all that stuff. The neat part right in the middle here is going to give you your total balance, how much is yours, and how much your last contribution was, and then how much year-to-date your return is. So if you just kind of want to get an idea how you're doing this year, you can just go in and check that out. On the right-hand side here is where you're going to be able to see all kinds of different tools. There's going to be some news and alerts if we need to tell you something about your plan, if we need to give you any kind of special information. If the company needs to give you any news, that's going to be there too. We're going to try to get a hold of you any way we can. About Me section, this is your information, your account information. If you don't want to get paper statements mailed to your homes and you want to get it electronically, you can go into the communication section and do it that way. Your financial professional, Ben, who you just heard, him and Jason, if you go into the financial professional tab, you can see their name and number and how to get a hold of them. And you can also just give Jane or Rick a call at the home office, and they can help you as well. And then the last section here is the education and tools section. This is where you're going to find those calculators and all those different kind of helps that we have out there for you to figure out what's the best way for you to save for retirement. But even more than that, I want to call your attention to the retirement tracker here in the middle section here. Now, this is a plan, a piece of software we have in the system that is really helpful to help you figure out what type of, how you're doing at saving for retirement. As you can see on here, it says in the blue section that this person is likely to need this much at retirement, that $486,000. But right now, the way they're saving, they're only saving $357,000, so they're going to be short a certain amount of money. Okay? When you go in there, it's going to show you how you are doing. But I want to tell you, you want to go in and update your goals, because on the update, because we don't necessarily have all the information that we need from you. I mean, we have your birth date, and so we know your age, and we know how much you're contributing, like how much your total balance is, but we don't know things like your salary and all that information. So if you go into update my goals, you can go in there and update all that information, and then we can get the right information and the right calculation for you. You can go in there also and put in if you have any outside savings. Maybe you have a 401k somewhere else that you haven't rolled into the plan. Maybe you're married and your spouse has a 401k. Maybe you have some property that you're maybe going to have an income from rental property that you're going to consider that income when you retire. You can add all that information in there. And it's going to also ask you what type of an investor you are, because depending on the type of investor you are, of course, depends on the type of return you get. So it's going to ask you that. And there's even a quiz online that you can take to figure out what type of an investor you are. Once you fill all that out, they're going to ask you the last question, too. They're going to ask you, is when do you want to retire? Do you want to retire at 65, which is what the default is? Or, do you want to retire a little later, maybe a little earlier? Wouldn't we all like to retire tomorrow? But, they're going to ask you those kind of questions. And then you can submit that, and you got to make sure that you tell us how much you're taking out of your paycheck. And you can go in there and say, okay, if I'm at 3% now, what if I go to 6%? What's that going to change? And it'll actually adjust these squares for you, the different bar chart for you, to show you how you're doing at saving for retirement. And then just submit it, and then you'll have that on the front of your section here when you pull into the website. The next time you're going to be able to see everything. The only other thing on here I want to show you is that in the I Want To section, that's kind of the frequently asked questions section. So if you want to change your investments, you can go into the investments tab and change your investments, but you can also go into the change investments, which will bring you there as well to be able to change your investments. And as I was saying before, that education and tools section is on this page that I'm showing you now. This is where you can go in and get the Paycheck Analyzer and take that questionnaire to figure out what type of an investor you are. Okay, so now I showed you how to kind of decide and look at how you're doing at saving for retirement. We need to seriously take a look at how we're spending our money, what we do, and we need to make sure that we attach some sort of meaning to our money. Okay, we have to have a purpose and a goal in mind, and they could be short-term goals and they could be long-term goals. And of course, one of your long-term goals would probably be retirement. But we have to make sure that every time that we look at making a big purchase, that we have to think about these three questions that they show on the screen here. Is this something that you can't live without? Is it something that you really, really need, or is this something that would make me happy? And how does this affect my other goals? How many times have you done something, made a split decision, bought something, and then later on said, oh, shoot, that means I can't go on this vacation I wanted to go on, or I guess I can't get my new car right now or my new truck. There's different things that we have, and we have to look at that. And we have to make some sort of decision based on how we're doing at saving, and if this really the thing that we want to buy, is this really something important? One of the things that I like to use is what we call a Dixie cup rule. You basically take your credit card, put it in a Dixie cup, fill it with water, and put it in the freezer. And then when you have a decision that you want to make, a purchase that you want to buy, you take that Dixie cup out, set it in the middle of your kitchen table in, the ice cube. Let that ice cube melt. And once that ice cube melts, by the time it melts, if you still want to buy that item, okay, because you've had time to think about it, if it's something you can't live without, is it really going to make you happy? If it really does and you still want to use that item, then you can take that credit card and go buy that item. Okay, but you got to remember that you can't worry about whether all the neighbors have that new John Deere tractor or whatever it is. You have to make sure that it's something that you really can't live without. And part of that has to do with budgeting. Okay, Visa did a study about our so-called mystery spending that we do out there. And like I said before, when you have that extra $20 in our pocket, where it goes to, they actually figured out that that our mystery spending adds up to about almost $1,000 a year, even more than that sometimes. That $1,000, can you imagine what we could do with that if we didn't just spend it on some of those mystery spending things? One of the things that does help you to stop that mystery spending is to give yourself a budget. And I know a lot of people say, I know budgeting's hard and it's hard to stick to it. Now, just remember, a budget doesn't have to be this really strict thing. It could be something like a roadmap, you got to get from point A to point B, and you don't necessarily have to go in this straight, perfect line. You could go up and down a little, but as long as you're heading forward, you're doing well. So remember that a budget doesn't have to be this strict thing, okay? Another thing that helps you in budgeting is to get a budget buddy. Get somebody out there that's going to help you figure out and help you keep in line, maybe help you ask you those questions. Is this something you really can't live without? They'll ask you that. They'll stick with it, whether it's a spouse or a friend. I know I use my sister sometimes because, sisters aren't always nice to each other, and we can just say, hey, you don't need that. So those things happen. The next thing you do is to stick with cash, okay? You'd be surprised. It's psychologically pretty painful when you start taking that money out of your wallet and handing it. It's such a visual sometimes. It's easier for us to stick with our budget when we're sticking with cash as opposed to just taking that plastic out and then looking at it at the end of the month when we get our bill. The other thing is to track your spending. Write down everything you spend your money on, whether it's a stick of gum or a thing of pop or at the store or at the vending machine or whatever it is, a cup of coffee at the gas station. Track down that spending. I know in Weight Watchers they used to say, if you bite it, write it. Anything you bite into, you write it down to help you see what you're eating. Same thing. If you spend it, write it down. Write it down. It kind of gives you a good idea of exactly how much money you're really spending on things. And then the last thing they suggest is to get automatic payments going. If you can go online to your bank, have them pay all your bills. Go in there and say, okay, I want you to pay my utility bills, pay my cable bill, pay my whatever you have out there, whatever kind of bills you have. A lot of times, some companies will give you a discount if you use their auto pay as opposed to doing it. The good thing about auto pay is they not only may give you a discount on it and it saves you from having late payments, but it also doesn't go against your credit rating, okay? Because we all know that we have debt, but if we don't pay our debt, it can get pretty bad. Now, there's good debt, and there's bad debt, and there's also what we call ugly debt, okay? The good debt is debt like our mortgages that are a low interest rate, that's a long-term, but, we keep paying it because we have to live there. So it's a long-term debt, but it's a small interest rate. Bad debt would be some of those debts with really high interest rates. Sometimes you buy things 90 days, same as cash, and then you forget to pay that in 90 days, and then you get hit with this, 42% interest rate thing, or that's, big debt. That's the big bad debt there when the interest rates are higher. And then there's also ugly debt. And ugly debt is those debts when we don't make a payment or forget to make a payment and get hit with a late charge. Not only do we get hit with a late charge, but it's also going against our credit. And then the last question they ask on here is, should I save or should I pay off my debt? Okay, the answer is yeah, you should do both. What they say out there is that you should have at least 3 to 6 months of emergency money, meaning look at how much you spend every single month in expenses for your house, for your utilities, all the money that you spend out, and have at least 3 to 6 months worth saved. Okay? as you're saving that money, the emergency money as they call it, as you're saving that, pay the minimums on your credit cards. Once you get that 3 to 6 months in there, okay, you want to start paying off your debt. And always start with the highest interest card first that you have, the highest interest rate first. Still pay the minimums on the other, but start putting more money into that. The money that you were saving for your emergency fund can go right into that then. Okay, and at no point in time are you not doing this. But, I mean, the reason they say to do that is because if you don't have an emergency fund and you take all your savings and you put it into your debt, then what happens if you lose your job tomorrow? You won't have any money to pay that off. So you really need to make sure that you have an emergency fund but also pay your debt off at the same time. So here's some tricks that they say to help you pay your debt off. The one thing is to play credit cards against each other. I don't know if you've ever done this, but you can call up your credit card company and say, hey, am I up for a lower interest rate? Am I available to get one of those? And sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, you are. You've been paying well on time. We can actually lower your interest rate. The other thing is with along that lines, I don't know about you, but I get those things in the mail all the time where they say if you move your money over to this credit card, we'll give you 0% or 0.4% interest rate for 90 days or up until 2014. And what you can do is call your credit card company and ask them if you're in for a lower interest rate. And if they say no, just say, hey, well then I just got something here from ABC Credit Card Company, and they say if I transfer my balance over to them, I can get this percent, and tell them that. And quite often they'll put you on hold and magically find a way to lower your interest rate for you. So play your credit cards against each other. The next thing they say is negotiate payments. If you really find that you can't make the minimum payment on some things, call them up and say, hey, here's the story. I can't do this right now. I can't make this. What can you do to help me? I had a girlfriend who took her children, her and her husband took her children to Disney World, and her daughter ended up in the emergency room getting some kind of flu poisoning thing or whatever it was. I don't know for sure, but she ended up getting this huge medical bill from Florida, and she called the hospital up and said, there's no way I can pay this bill right now. What can I do? And they said, as long as you're making $20 payments every month, it's not going to get flagged as a bad credit for you. Just keep making those payments. So she's paying off a whole bunch of thousands of dollars of payments at $20 a month, and that's it. You negotiate payments. They would rather negotiate payments than have you not pay something at all. And then the other thing is to consider refinancing. If you haven't looked at refinancing in a while, you can refinance and consolidate all your debt refinancing that way. It's a good thing, especially now because the interest rates are pretty low. You'd be surprised how much you can get taken off your debt if you just refinance and get a lower interest rate. And then if you find yourself in trouble still, and you haven't been able to do any of the, get out of the debt, there are debt management companies out there. There's the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, the Money Management International. Those are two companies that will help you. They'll work with your creditors to get you lower payments or lower your debt, actually, all that information. And then ReadyForZero.com is another company. It's a website out there that will actually help you do the debt management, show you how to do it, how you can actually work on it, and they can help you out, too, as well, if that's something that you need. So the other way is to make sure that you are, like I said before, save for retirement. We all have this credit stuff going on. We all have debt and everything. But as long as you're saving, you might as well save a little bit for yourself as well so that you don't have all this debt for the rest of your life. And starting early is a really good thing to do for you. On the screen you can see that if you started at age 30 as opposed to age 40, the difference in savings, if you're saving $2,400 a year into your 401k plan at 30 years old, when you turn 65, it's $276,000 versus just waiting that extra 10 years, you have a difference of $140,000. It's like double the amount just because you're compounding that extra 10 years. All your money is going in. Now, whether the market's up or down, your money's going in. So if you're putting in $100 a month, you're going to be able to pay, you're putting in $100 a month, you're going to buy, if it's $10 per share, you're going to buy 10 when the market's up. But if the market goes down and it's $5 a share, you're going to be able to buy 20. And then when it goes up again, you have 20 shares that are growing as opposed to 10. So you're always in the system compounding that money. And it's better to start as early as you can. and to do that, even if you start early and then find yourself later on that you can't do it. Okay, and if you remember earlier, I said that the rule of thumb is to get between 10 and 12% out of your paycheck into your 401k to maintain your current lifestyle. Now, you're not going to be able to go from 3% to 10% in 1 year, but by making those small increases every year, taking a little bit more of disciplined action and save a little bit more, you can actually get there pretty quickly. And then the last thing they say is to take advantage of surprise cash. Whenever you get if you get your taxes back and you get that extra money now, they're not saying to not use it and spend it a little bit, because we all like the little surprise cash and money that we have. But make sure that you're disciplined enough that when you do get extra money from something, that you take part of it and put it away and save it. That should be the first thing. We should be first, not just the things that we get. We should actually save ourselves for retirement. If you want to get some help, we have a lot of help for you online, once again, on the website at thehartford.com/retirementplan/access. You can go in online and get some help. You also have Jason and Ben that can help you with investing, in order for you to invest away so you're not spending too much money and not spending too much time figuring out all the investment stuff. They can actually help you with that as well. Now, if there's any questions that you have, you can always call. If you have questions about your plan, you can call the 800 number for the Mass Mutual site. You can always call Jason and Ben. And then, of course, Rick and Jane are always there to help you some guidance for you as well. Okay, is there anything else?
Well, Cindy, you've covered a lot of material here today, and we hope the information provided here today in this program will help with your decision-making as a 401k participant. On behalf of Cindy, Ben, Jane, and I, we all want to thank you again for your participation. And remember, we want you to make the best decisions and retire on your own terms. Thanks again.